Welcome back to Washington Journal. We're joined now by Representative Rich McCormick, member of the House Armed Services Committee and the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, welcome to the program.
Good to be with you. Thanks.
So in the last few days, President Trump has increased pressure on Russia. He's agreed to send more defensive weapons and equipment to Ukraine. Are you on board with that support for Ukraine?
Absolutely. Always have been. I've been very consistent in this. I'm not going to flip-flop based on anybody's individual opinion. I spent over 20 years in the military, spent some time over in that area. I've actually been to Kyiv since this war has kicked off. I understand this is a top 10 country, actually top 5 country really in the world for resources. It's strategically important to us and important to NATO countries who border that country. Russia's a bad actor. They acted on bad faith. They went against the peace accords that were signed, that they signed in the Budapest Accords when Ukraine gave up their nuclear weapons when they left the USSR. This is a bad thing to happen for the rest of us. It's going to actually financially impact us for those America First people. It benefits us to have this country on our side. If Russia takes their assets, which controls 70% of European grain and a ton of rare earth minerals, which we have contract with now, as well as titanium, steel, cobalt, uranium, you name it, that all is going to be disseminated to North Korea, Iran, China, people that aren't friendly with us. And I think it's in our best interest, financially and otherwise, to have them on our side.
Now, the president's critics will say, look, Putin is a known entity. We know that he cannot be trusted,
Sure.
that these past 6 months, he's been essentially playing the president of the United States. Why do you think it took so long for President Trump to get to the point where he says, you know what, Putin's BSing us?
Yeah, well, President Trump's been relying on his former relationship with Putin, that he would come around, that he could actually be a peace broker in this process, but Putin has not been playing by normal rules. He has not been a good actor, and I've said all along, this guy is not to be trusted. President Trump has come to that conclusion and now is turning up the pressure. Quite frankly, financially, we could hamstring Russia. Since they're reliant so much on their oil, we turned up pressure on India and undersold them in India. We could actually shut down the Russian economy. And simultaneously, we could provide Ukraine with enough weaponry to really, really do damage to Russia, and even with a 30,000 influx of Koreans there. Look at what Ukraine did in the first year. They took out 50% of Russian armor.
Can
and
we
almost
really
a million
shut
casualties.
down Russia's economy, given that China will still buy their energy?
One country is not going to sustain this war. And we can actually make it hard
Even
on
if
China.
it's China.
Well, yeah, China, 1.47 billion people. I get it. The second largest economy in the world, about $17 trillion per year. But we can make things a little bit hard on China, too. I don't think China, they have a precarious relationship with Russia, always have. Even though they see politics maybe similarly, they are rivals, both economically and militarily.
I want to ask you about your colleague Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Republican who said, quote, this is on X, MAGA did not vote for more weapons to Ukraine. MAGA voted no more U.S. involvement in foreign wars. I know you disagree with that, but isn't that where what she's calling MAGA voters are?
Well, I don't think MAGA can be classified as one thing. I keep on saying, we're not a cult. If you're in a church and everybody believes exactly the same thing and one person gets to dictate that, that's a cult. We're not a cult. We're a diverse culture even inside of the Republican Party. We can have a disagreement and it's okay. Not everybody believes that America first means America only. As a matter of fact, this is a world economy. When you look at strategically what allies we have to have in this world, it's important to have friends around the world. And I would say it's financially important to us. And it does put America first to have strong allies around the world.
Congressman Rich McCormick is with us in the studio. If you'd like to give a call and talk to him, you can do so. You can start calling now. Democrats are on 202-748-8000, Republicans 202-748-8001, and Independents 202-748-8002. Russia's Foreign Minister Lavrov responded to President Trump. He said this, quote, "We have already had an unprecedented number of sanctions imposed against us. We're managing. I have no doubt whatsoever that we will cope." You disagree with that? Do you think that they're coping now?
Yeah, they're also putting, what, about 8% of their GDP into their military. They are not friendly with most nations in the world, especially in Europe. This is going to continue to get worse for them over time. They will cope, but what does that mean? Eventually, the oligarchs are going to rise up against Putin. Eventually, you're going to run out of Koreans, and the Koreans are going to get tired of this war as well. But they do. In warfare, they are a meat grinder. Look what they did during the Gulag Archipelago era, which from 1917 to 1957, about 60 million people died in Russia. This control, these people, that heritage of that, and you listen to what Putin does, he quotes Peter the Great, Catherine the Great. In order to secure my borders, I must expand them. He is a Russian Empire sort of mentality, and that needs to be defeated.
Pivoting now to the Epstein Files. I know it's a hard pivot from Ukraine, but as you know, that there is a lot of discussion since the Department of Justice has decided to not release any additional files. Where are you on that? Do you still support, or do you support the Attorney General?
I support full transparency. I think the more information's out there, the better we look. I'm like that with almost every issue, unless it's something that's of national security that's going to compromise us, such as the military. Something that would put us at a disadvantage. But I don't see how this, unless they know something I don't know, and they probably do, the question is, why don't they release the files? I think it's a populist item. I mean, both Democrats and Republicans want to see what's in the files. Now, I'm sure there's some important people.
President Trump wants to move on from this issue and doesn't want to, it would appear that he doesn't want those files released.
But the American public
his
still,
Department of Justice.
No, I get it. But the American public still doesn't agree with that. And I'm sure President Trump will use the bully pulpit to convince people of what he wants to convince them of, and that's the president's prerogative. But I think the vast majority of people want to see those files released.
Let's talk about the what's called the Big Beautiful Bill, passed on July 3rd. You said this on X, quote, "There is no way to get everything you want as a fiscal conservative, but this is a significant step forward in addressing the nation's most pressing issues of keeping businesses thriving and putting Americans to work." What are the parts that you did not like about that bill?
I'm a budget hawk. I believe that we are far too far in deficit spending. We're going to actually expend our deficit spending next year by almost $500 billion. The next year, the same. That's not good for the American future. We may have a golden era now, but we're going to have that come to pay in the next presidency. It doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican. It's simple math. Social Security will go bankrupt in about 7 years, which means it's going to have an automatic 21% cut without a vote. 21% cut to benefits unless we expand our debt even more grossly. Same thing with Social Security. Same thing with Medicare. It's going to go bankrupt within the next presidency, almost certainly, and it's going to have an automatic 11% cut without a vote. If we don't, now, granted, this bill couldn't handle that because of the Byrd rules. We couldn't vote on that. But the rest of the budget, which is significant, we did very little on Medicaid reform. Now, I know people got upset about Medicaid, and I understand what they're worried about. But I think if you became unemployed tomorrow, you're not going to because you're a great reporter. But if you did, you'd be in unemployment line, and you have certain requirements just to get your unemployment check, which you paid into. Medicaid is not something that you necessarily paid into, but you're going to get without the same requirements you would on something you paid into. That doesn't make sense to me. By the way, as an ER physician, most people who suffer from anxiety, depression, suicidality, drug and alcohol abuse have one problem. They don't have something to live for. Being a volunteer for 20 hours a week, looking for a job, having a job is a good thing. We shouldn't look at it as a bad thing. That's a good thing for people. It's good for your health and good for America. Why wouldn't we do something of substance?
So critics are not criticizing the people's desire to work or to volunteer, but the extra paperwork and the burden that puts on them and on states to check every 6 months as opposed to every year. Do you buy that? Do you think that's
I don't think
burdensome?
For me, once again, how many times do you have to get checked for unemployment? Every single month. Every single month. And yet we act like twice a year is a burdensome regulation. For me to check if you have a job, why is that such a burden when we do way more stuff than that in government every single month for people all over the United States?
Most people agree that there will be people that are coming off those Medicaid rolls, and that's where the savings are going to come from. Those people end up in the emergency room. You are an ER doctor.
I am.
So those people are going to put an extra burden. It's very expensive to get ER care. And then the people that really need it are going to have longer wait times. Are you concerned about that?
Of course. But if we don't do something, I would like to hear the better idea. The Democrats don't have one. They're like, just keep it the way it is. The way it is failing us. And this is why when Democrats are all of a sudden for the first time worried about debt, that just makes me laugh. Now, neither side has been very good at managing debt. This is a bipartisan problem. We're not going to get out of it without bipartisan efforts, including on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, which is about 6% of the budget by itself. And by the way, I don't want to cut anything with Social Security. I don't want to make sure the people receiving or about to receive Social Security have got to be secure. I get that. But we have bipartisan bills out there. This is going to have to be something we address together. But tell me a better plan. Don't tell me you're going to tax your way out of this.
Well, so I was going to say, I mean, the Democrats will say, have they said on this program to raise taxes on the wealthy?
You could take first of all, it's a false promise. Way more billionaires give way more money to the Democrat Party than the Republican Party. Why is that?
We're talking about the taxes, though.
Yeah, I know, on those same billionaires. Why do you think that is? Because they know they can avoid those taxes. You raise the taxes, they don't get real income. The money in the bank doesn't get taxed. There's the dirty little secret, right? If I raise taxes on you, the billionaire, that just basically punishes the people who are trying to become billionaires, not the people who are billionaires. Because the people who are billionaires have money in the bank. They make money off of capital gains, and their businesses get reinvested. They have these blind trusts, these trusts for their families that then control the government and then make them more money. I read a book called Controligarchs. Excellent book on things that can be done by billionaires control the economy.